Hello there, friends. I'm Hector Perez from Dev School. Want to know the simplest way to use any font in your Xamarin Forms projects with only one line of code? Well, that's what we will be learning in this video. So let's see how we can add any font we want to our Xamarin Forms project or projects. Here are the release notes for a specific version of Xamarin Forms, i.e. 4.5.0.530. In these release notes, you'll see there is a new section that tells us we can embed fonts in our Xamarin Forms project. And here are the steps on how we can implement this. You see, usually, new Xamarin Forms features are released that we often don't even notice. This is because the development cycle of Xamarin Forms is so fast that new features or functionalities are pushed out regularly that we might not be aware of. Such is the case of the embed fonts. I will teach you how to use this feature. Here is a project based on Xamarin Forms. This is our application. It's a simple label with text, and by default, it has a font family. Okay, how can we add our own fonts in this project? Well, the first thing we need to do is visit a website that allows us to download fonts, either paid or free. In this case, I have this website that is pretty good, showing us a variety of free fonts that we can download to include in our projects. We're going to test this with a font called Valium, although it could be any font you like. We'll open this page. Here we can preview the font, and we're going to click where it says Download Now. Okay, it's a very quick download. Once we've downloaded this font, what we're going to do is integrate it into our NetStandard project within our Xamarin Forms solution. I am going to create a couple of folders. This is to keep our project organized. We're going to create a new folder. For example, we'll name it Resources. I will stop the project execution. I'm going to rename this folder to, and inside I'm going to create a new folder called Fonts, as we could have more than one font included in our solution. I will then drag and drop the file I've downloaded, which is this file with this name that we have here. Next, I will rename the font, this to keep the name short. I'll delete fonts free and its hyphen, leaving net and replacing the remaining hyphen with an underscore, valium.ttf. Okay, I now have this font. As mentioned earlier, creating these folders isn't necessary, but if you want a more organized project, it's recommended that you have some order in your hierarchy, in your project. The next step is to ensure that this font or these fonts you have in this folder are set as an embed resource in their build action. Here we have the properties of each of the files. In this case, our font has a build action set to none. We're going to change the build action to embed resource. You have to ensure you have this feature, as if not, what we're about to do won't work. Once this is done, we'll need to add what's called an export font attribute to the NetStandard project. This attribute could be anywhere in the NAD standard project, as it registers at assembly level. This depends on how visible you want this resource to be to other projects or developers. I'm going to place it in the file named assemblyinfo.cs. Here, we see that we already have an attribute. So I will proceed first to add the Xamarin Forms namespace, and later I'll add a new attribute that begins with assembly, and then we have the attribute called export font. In parentheses, we have to specify the name of the font. In this case, it's Net Belyunk. It must be the name with which your font is registered in the fonts folder. So we open a set of quotation marks and write Net Belyunk TTF. And with this, we have our font registered for use in our Xamarin Forms project. Another important point is to ensure you are using one of the latest versions of Xamarin Forms. In my personal case, I've updated to the latest Xamarin Forms version, which is version 4.7.0.968. Okay, our font registration is complete. How can we use this font in our XAML files? Well, what we have to do is specify the font family, in this case for our label element, and we have to specify the registered name net value. which is ultimately the name of the file. Then, we paste this name and begin executing our project again. And here, we have already applied the font to our label element. As you've noticed, this is a very simple way to use fonts in our projects. Previously, we had to import this font into every platform-specific project and make some settings that were time-consuming, but with what I've taught you, you will save a lot of time. Another thing we can do with these attributes is to specify what is an alias. This is to avoid having to write the entire name that we listed here. If you have a simplified version of the font's name, you could establish it by placing a comma, specifying the alias, and in quotes, stating which alias you want to use to invoke this font. For instance, we could place an uppercase N and V to indicate its net value, the font's name. We return to the main page.xaml, and instead of specifying the full font name, we just have to call font family with N and V. We execute again, and notice that we once again have this font that we previously imported, but this time we've invoked the font with its alias. In this way, we can achieve the use of different fonts in an extremely simple manner in our Xamarin Forms-based projects. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and share it with your friends. See you in the next video.